Welcome to the She Force Show. I'm Amy Carlson, your host, and today I have the amazing Marie Adell, human design family practitioner. Welcome, Marie.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
So, let's start off explaining this human design family practitioner. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I have been a teacher for over 20 years. This was my 23rd year of teaching. Early childhood specialist all the way, lots of, background in psychology and, neuroscience, like how the brain works, just so that I could really work with my students at their best level, right? And, really learning that the body is the gateway to the brain, all kinds of things around that. And then flash forward like 4 degrees later, um, and I found this thing called human design. And the moment that I heard it and the moment that the person started talking about it, my little space antenna went up and I was just like, "Mer," because I have to know more about this. I have to start looking into it. And it was like Alice in Wonderland. The more that I dug, the deeper I fell into the hole. And so just really going in, and it's one of those things that some people might say is woo, but actually there is so much science that is happening right now to back up exactly what human design is teaching us and telling us. And it really is, it's our energetic blueprint. So, how we utilize our energy. And we know energy is all around us, right? Like literally, you can walk into a room and you can feel the energy in a room. You can feel whether the people are happy or sad or, angry or frustrated. Like you can feel people's energy, you can feel the way that they're coming at you. And you can feel your own energy, right? Like if you get upset, sometimes you can just feel everything go whoosh, like the fire, right? Or if you feel excited, you can feel the little poppy sensation in your body. So we're energetic beings. We're made from electricity and protons and neutrons and electrons and funny things called quarks and neutrino and all of those things. And so human design pulls all of that into one space. It helps us to understand the circuitry by which we utilize our energy. And it helps us to understand our conditioning that we've had throughout our lives so that we can change to a different story if we desire to and be more of who we are, the us that's down inside of all of the layers. And so I love human design because it's just a very, concrete way. It's a picture, and it shows you, and it's only you, it's only your pattern. Nobody else has the exact same pattern and will not for literally hundreds of years. And it shows your unique energetic blueprint, and then helps you understand how to utilize that for relationships, for job, for yourself, everything in between. It's just a magnificent tool for all of that.
And so then you take this magnificent tool and work with families.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's my being a teacher and, coming from a really traumatic background in my own childhood. I fully believe we ask for whatever we need to grow in our life, right? So somewhere along the way, my soul is like, this is what you need to be able to become, the person that to get back to your soul, right? Like who you are, get down to your core. And so I had those experiences, and because of that, I'm a very fierce child advocate. And working with children at school, it's incredibly rewarding. I work with students with special needs, and at the same time, like that some of those kids are going home to a very difficult situation. And so the more parents that I can work with, and I work with a lot of moms. So the mom is like that heart of the family a lot of times. And so, working with moms to help them to be the best self that they can possibly be so that they can change for generations what is happening in their families.
That is so powerful. And I see why you get so passionate about it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very um thing that's dear to my heart. And I made the decision a long time ago to be differently than my family, and not only made the decision to do it, right, moved in the direction that I wanted to go for it. I didn't keep saying, I don't want to be like my parents. I said, this is how I want to be. And there's a very important distinction in that because of the way that our brain receives that information. Our brain doesn't hear don't, it just hears the thing, right? And so what our words are, they're very powerful. They call into creation. So, making sure that we are speaking in the direction of what we desire instead of what we do not desire is incredibly important.
And so, along those lines, I can only imagine how you see confident shifts happening within, whether it's you're working with a mother or you also start to see how that ripples out into the family. Can you
Yeah.
explain some of that, what that's been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, just even myself, right? Like there's that peace that comes with peace by PIECE, not peace, calm, peace that comes from, when you grow up in a challenging environment that, believes no one wants me, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I don't love myself, like those kinds of things, like the confidence just really, it's not there because those core woundings are so deep around some of those things. And that's another reason why I love human design, is because it shows you all of those spaces and it gives clues as to how you can move from that and transmute that story so that you can change it to one that you desire. And it shows you exactly where in your chart where you might have that conditioning or you might have that patterning, and it helps you to release that patterning and choose a new story for yourself so that you can step into every bit of the cosmic person that you actually are.
Wow. And then, of course, that helps the generations to come. I'm thinking of how that just ripples out.
Yes. Yeah, and even past generations, because we carry the genetic patterning in our DNA from up to like 14 generations back. And so you think about, I was just talking about this in one of my groups. You think about, what was happening 14 generations ago. That could be 50 times 14, that could be 100 times 14, depending on how long that the people lived. But we think of like, the stress levels then of survival,
Yeah.
like true survival, and illness, and early death, and real like bear chasing you kind of scenarios, right? And so that is where our instinct comes from. So being able to move from instinct to intuition in a way that we're able to really like stop and listen without the stress, right? Like I call it the silence quotient, the silent quotient. So we have an EQ, our emotional intelligence, we have an IQ, for our intelligence and emotion, EQ, emotion, IQ, intelligence. And then there's the SQ, like that silent quotient, right? That ability to be able to cultivate that silence, because in between the silence is the space where we're able to create and we're able to have the deepest intention. And so the longer that we have that ability to cultivate that silence in between the thoughts, the more spaciousness we have to create and grow and think. And so being able to, take that energy that has come from all of those generations and literally shift our DNA. Science is showing that we can shift our DNA, our epigenetic makeup, and change the thinking patterns, the belief patterns, all of those things are our medical patterns. We can literally shift that. So what we previously thought was, this set fixed thing, we're now realizing how powerful that we actually are and how malleable that we are and how we can change our family patterning by understanding how these things work.
So just in hearing you explain that, first of all, I felt a sense of relief. There's a part of me that was just like, oh, that just feels so good to know.
Mhm.
And it also made me think, when we're in the midst of shifting something that may
Mm.
feel challenging because it's been a pattern, or as you say, it could have been something that it has been so deeply patterned into us that it's in our DNA. So it gave me a new perspective on when I'm in the midst of something and I'm feeling that it's challenging
Mhm.
to create that shift. It gave me this sort of top of the mountain view, this perspective of, yes, and as I change this and shift this, this can make things easier, better, different for those who come after me. And
Yes.
that gives me a whole, I have a whole other energy to then take that on, like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, yeah, it's that whole collective piece, right? Like we all are like one big cosmic breath in and out, we're this wave of energy. And, just even you shifting one small thing about you can send ripples to the other side of the world. Like that's just the way that quantum works. And so, being able to understand that quantum field and the energy that's around that and all of the science that is coming to the forefront around that, particularly, Dr. Joe Dispenza does a lot of stuff around that. But even, there's some pioneers in human design that are really moving to try to explain that quantum field and the way that quantum energy works. And we as a society, we're looking for different ways because we're saying, okay, like we've tried all of these things. A, it takes a really long time. B, sometimes it doesn't work. C, we just keep rehashing our past over and over and over again. You know, um, so the power is in the present and learning how to be present so that you can tap into your future it's the next thing. It's the next thing. And to find someone who can help you to do that, to learn how to understand that even more deeply, and to shorten your time in having to learn that and knowing how to learn that and then putting that into practice, like it's priceless.
Absolutely. And as you were speaking earlier about the power of words, and then as we are visiting and I'm hearing your words come together and like the vibration of them, as well as how wonderfully you articulate and I feel like integrate all of these different things. You talk about Joe Dispenza, and I really enjoy learning what he's putting out as well. But uh, I just want to I just want to acknowledge that the way that your mind takes information and then shares it out is very accessible, very friendly,
Mm,
very empowering.
thank you. Yeah, that's, um, you know, understanding who you are and your purpose and what you're meant to do on this planet, your soul purpose, is incredibly empowering. And I have my thoughts, I have my feelings, I have my purpose behind why I do what I do. And at the same time, I am that much more empowered because I know in my human design and I know in my natal chart it says these very things that I've always felt privately that I've been meant to do. It says it in there. And so then that gives me that confidence, that self love, that boost to be able to share very clearly what my message is.
Mm, yes, I can see how that would all come together, and that it really um, that self-acknowledging, self-loving, self-accepting way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as you are moving forward, I know before we hit record that you and I were speaking about some shifts that happened for you around the pandemic. And so if
Hmm.
you want to speak a bit to that, as well as what's coming next for Marie? Do you sense a direction, something new that's brewing?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, this is my 23rd year of teaching. That's, pretty much all I've been doing my entire life. I lived overseas for 10 years, doing, same thing, traveling around and teaching. Had lots of different opportunities to be able to learn lots of different modalities for myself, I thought, right? Only for me. And then the pandemic happened, and I found this ad on Facebook, scrolling through, right, like as we're wont to do sometimes. And there were these people on there that were talking about like coaching and utilizing your talents to be able to create an impact in the world. And I started to think, and the wheels started to turn, and I was like, okay, I think I could probably do this. And I actually, like, I had a friend on Facebook as well too, and she had been shifting in the direction of life coaching. And I was like, well, I have a pretty good background, like in psychology, and like, and not even knowing that, sometimes like when you come on here, people are just, they're just themselves, right? Like they're just sharing their life experiences. Like it doesn't matter if you have 4 degrees or you have zero. Like everybody has something valuable to offer. And it's just the person that you resonate the most with. And so, starting to learn about like how to start an online business, and just really like give myself that space to breathe, right? We're talking about the space to create, and I didn't have that before because it was just boom 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 in my life. And all the things that we were talking about, how like I've been living the yoga lifestyle for like 20 years, but never had really um applied it as much and as rigorously as I'm doing now in the business world, right? Because you don't realize like how much that you still have to go until you're doing something that feels like it's just so brand new, right? Like nothing that you've ever done before is like, here I'm coming from teacher land trying to fit into business world. Like
Yeah.
just like square peg round hole kind of a situation, and wrapping your head around that. But all of the things that come up from within you that you felt like you had released so long ago, like it's a new opportunity to feel them all over again in a different way, right? So
True.
yeah, like I feel like I have really quantumly, um exponentially sped up my evolution process by embarking on this business journey. And it's at a time in my life where, like in my human design, I'm something called on the roof. So it's a time when I am meant to be reflecting on life experiences, synthesizing, gathering information, putting everything all together so that when I come off from the roof at 50, I can really, really just share this expertise that I've gained by truly living it, right? Like being this exemplar. And I really take that role very seriously. So, just I think the pandemic just it was a gift to us. It felt like a punishment, but really like there are so many businesses that were birthed out of that. There's so much growth, like personal growth and introspection that was born out of that. And to be able to take that energy and that permission felt like from the universe to stop and rest and reflect, and then gather that and birth that out, right? Be able to birth that creativity out into the world. So yeah, I mean, I have 4 years left until I'm off the roof officially, right? And just bit by bit, I'm sharing, in my Facebook group and with family and friends and like whoever invites, right? It invites me to kind of share, like, it's not necessarily my design to accept the invitation, and at the same time with my energy type, I can be felt very intensely. And so sometimes I do need to kind of wait until the people are ready. That's also part of my design. And so yeah, I'm headed in that direction. And I've got visions of auditoriums dancing in my head, and nothing that I ever would have pictured for myself, the knock-kneed seventh grader trying to grip at the podium and stand up without fainting talking. It just not that kind of a thing. But when you know those things about yourself, it empowers you. It really empowers you, um, to know what you're meant for, and be able to fulfill that. Like, is such a it's a very empowering feeling. And so moving in that direction, books, auditoriums. I have this big, I call it a gaudy goal, right? Like the one that's just like people are like, oh, that's just so corny, right? But like my gaudy goal is that, literally millions of people will have access to my information, and that it will make this radical difference in how we raise our children, and to help our children to grow up in a way that they already know that they're enough, and that we just have a generation that is birthed out of knowing that their enoughness, and just the ripple that that will cause in the universe. It, like, I get chills just thinking about it, but like that's my gaudy goal.
Oh, I love that.
Mm.
I love that. That's a keep that gaudy goal going.
Yes. Yeah. It's why I do what I do. One of the why I do is what I do.
So a quick question, backtracking to the uh, on the roof time. Is
Yes.
it for age 50 for everyone, or is it individual?
It's different depending on your design.
Okay.
So for my particular design, my energy type and the elements in there, that's just what it says for me.
Okay,
So
cool. So that's
yeah.
something that people could check out if they're interested in learning more. It really is an amazing, I've only been about a year into, learning about human design, and it's absolutely fascinating what I've learned so far.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yes. And we'll have all of your information below this too, so people know how to contact you, where to find you,
Yeah.
what kind of groups you have. And as we're wrapping up here, is there anything that you feel called to say that you didn't get to mention earlier that you just are inspired to share?
Hmm. Um, Let me think about that for a second. I mean, I guess just to encourage people to be, right? We're human beings and we are not meant to be human doings. And the more we be, the more that we are, right? We are who we are. And, you know, a lot of times we feel like if we are not the way that someone else wants us to be, or that we're not doing the things that someone else wants us to do, then we will not get the things that we desire in life, whether they be material or whether they be love, acceptance, approval, all of those things. And at the same time, you know, when we can simply be more of who we actually are, it opens up even more those things that we desire from the core. So we get to be.
Be, be. And as you said that, I felt like what you're describing was, it made me feel free. So I feel
Mm.
like be leads to free.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Oh, Marie, this has been such a delight. So much here for the audience to think about, consider, look into, research. And I always like to encourage people to, whatever spark has caught you today by listening to this conversation, take one thing and implement in some way now
Yes.
to start that transformation.
100%.
Well, Marie, again, thank you so much. It's been so fun to visit. I know we could go on and on. Maybe we'll have to plan part two.
There we go.
All right. Thank you.